hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin to such extent that you bleach to get like the white man? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose and the shape of your lips? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet? Who taught you to hate your own kind? Who taught you to hate the race that you belong to?
Welcome again to Street Talk. My name is Ahmad Chakaraki, and on Street Talk, we deal with political, social, and economics here in Michigan, the U.S., and abroad. Now, joining me tonight,
Dennis Burnside,
Charles Thomas,
Paget Maynard.
We've got a lot to cover, but you were saying something about the brother that got fired or something like that?
Yeah, there was a political commentator that works for CNN named Lamont Hill. He's a political science professor at Temple University. Very accomplished, very well-read and informed young man. He was on CNN making a comment about the Palestinian situation, Gaza, the West Bank, and Israel. Mm-hmm. And he made a very critical assessment of the situation. And he used a statement that said the Palestinians should be free from the river to the sea, mm-hmm. which has in time been taken as an anti-Semitic slur. Okay. Because the river implies that area between the river and the sea is all of what Israel is. And if you say that that ought to be Palestinian from the river to the sea, you're saying that the state of Israel shouldn't exist. Right. That's not what the man said. And what the man said is nothing that intellectuals like Chris Hedges, Noam Chomsky, other commentators all over the world have said about what Israel is doing to the Palestinians, which is akin to what the Germans did to the Jews in World War II. Right. Outside the ovens, the state of Israel under Netanyahu, this right-wing, far right-wing reactionary government, who takes positions, frankly, that most of the people of Israel don't agree with. Right, certainly 60% of them don't. Yeah, and certainly most American Jews don't agree with what he does. He takes his hard right-wing line, right in line with Putin, right in line with Agent Orange, and he treats these people like animals, gassing them, bombing them, shooting them, denying medication, denying them the ability to have clean water and food. The situation is abhorrent, and it's one that ought to cause a international outcry. But because Mark Lamont said this as a black man, he's summarily fired from CNN with the implied message that black boys, stay in your lane. Talk about what's going on in the street corners. Talk about what's going on in the hood. Talk about what's going on with black issues. But don't deign to step into the international arena and tell us how to conduct our business. So I just wanted to be known that people like me support Mark Lamont, agree with everything he said about the state of Israel and how they're conducting themselves under Netanyahu, and that the people of Palestine need justice. They need to be treated like human beings. They need to be treated fairly.
Right. Well, you know, in the we've been trying to work this thing out, but in the last 2 years, nothing has happened. You know, nothing, absolutely nothing. You know, because, like you were saying, you know, they are. Well, you got the leaders over there. They're Trump buddies, you know. You know, whatever Trump want or whatever they want, Trump is there to give it to them, you know.
Well, the good news is Netanyahu's on thin ice.
But
he's on an investigation for corruption and bribery, and he's probably not going to last too much longer. The question is who replaces him, who replaces his government. If it's another right-wing reactionary group, we've got real problems over there, because you can't keep suppressing the human spirit and tell people they don't have the right to come and go as they please, to seek employment, to seek clean food and water for their children, to seek medical help.
Dehumanize.
You can't shoot children, as the Israeli government has done, for having the nerve to go into the ocean and swim. You can't continue to do things like this and then call yourself something that's moral. Again, if you look at what the Nazis did to the Jews in World War II, this is very similar in behavior, except for the mass murder in the ovens. Outside of that, they're doing the same thing.
Right, and about 2 months ago, few people throwing rocks and everything, and then, man, Israel, they open fire, man. It's like, I mean, you know, what? These people throwing rocks and you shooting guns?
Out of frustration and trying to make the point that we need to be free to express ourselves as citizens.
Hey, guys, do you know who is Netanyahu's buddy?
Trump.
Agent Orange.
Yeah.
All right? Didn't we send troops to the border, giving them authorization to shoot if anybody throws a stone?
Yeah.
Doesn't it resemble something you just said, Dennis?
Yeah. You
so
know,
birds of a feather flock together, right?
Yeah.
Think about it.
He was in bed with Bush too. But you know, people revise history because it gets in the rearview mirror, and you have fond memories. You don't remember all the horrible things that happened. But Bush's foreign policy was probably worse than Agent Orange's. Agent Orange's malfeasance and incompetence and corruption is all manifest. And outside of the outside interference of Russia in our election, we really haven't had that very many controversial foreign policies.
We had none of foreign policy.
But we have had plenty of economic and social issues right here in the United States. But what Netanyahu's doing is pretty much telling the United States and the UN and everyone else, this is what I'm doing. You can ride with me if you want to, but I'm not asking for your permission. And I'm not asking you to give me authority on this. I've got it. And they go along with it. Because again, I understand that some people are afraid of being accused of being anti-Semitic. You know, we can go down to the definition of what a Semitic is. You're Semitic. You're Semitic. You're Semitic. As a black man, I'm Semitic. So if you want to narrow it down to the original definition, the people who first spoke Hebrew in the world were black-skinned Africans. So let's get rid of the sensitivity about what is and what is not Semitic and anti-Semitic. And let's talk about what's humane and anti-human. And the way the Palestinians are being treated, it's a sin and it's a crime and it's
abomination.
It absolutely is an abomination.
Well, you know, look at over the weekend where this little girl died, 7 years old. She died. And Trump's people out here saying, well, if they wasn't trying to, you know, if they would stay at home, wouldn't try to do this and wouldn't try to do this, it's like, do you?
When they're saying if they would have stayed at home, what about if they had left us Africans where we were in Africa? What would have become of this country? Where would it have been today? So this country is nothing, so to speak, without foreigners.
Yeah, everybody here from somewhere else.
Yeah.
With them Native Americans.
Yeah. But, you know, the thing is, man, is that these people, and again, this old Fox Channel, trying their best to take the focus off this little girl dying and putting it on, they should stay at home, everything but the right thing.
Remember, the little girl was already in their custody. Okay? So when she got there, she should have been taken care of and not left to suffer.
But they're saying, man, we just heard this, but they saying there's a whole lot of stuff going on there, people dying, all that kind of stuff. We not even getting worried of it.
Well, as the facts come out, we know this much: she had plenty of food, plenty of water on that 1,000-mile plus trek from Central America to the United States. She was in good health. She gets to the immigration center and presents with symptoms and is ignored for upwards of 90 minutes.
Yeah.
And then she's put on a bus ride to a second immigration center, which, as memory serves me, I could be wrong on this, is 3 hours away. By the time she gets there, she's deathly ill. So to Padgett's point, when she was at the very first immigration center and presented with symptoms, they should have been treated.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah.
But she, not only was she not treated and her symptoms were ignored, in that sick state, she's put on a bus to travel a couple hundred miles to another, at least a couple hundred miles to another center where she finally dies. Now, it's tragic enough, but you have to ask your question. This is always the question that's relevant. If it was little Janine, little sister girl, would she been treated that way? Probably.
Yeah.
If that had been a little Asian girl, would she been treated that way? Probably.
Yeah.
But had that been a little blonde-haired, blue-eyed Mary Beth who presented with symptoms at that very same immigration center, say she was visiting, say she was just there as an observer, she'd have been treated on the spot.
Everything would have stopped.
Or a dog.
Or their pet dog.
Everything would have stopped.
But because this little girl was not valued, her humanity was not valued, just like with the children of Palestine, she was left to die.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah. You know, and it's really, man, somebody was saying the other day, well, we most of us, it's like what I see, and y'all can correct me, man, but what I see is that maybe we was making progress, and we still making progress because we see a lot of our people and others, moving up in these jobs and everything, but with somebody in there like the skunk we got in there, he's throwing everything back, man. And if he's there for 4 years, it'll be back to the 30s.
If he's there in 4 years, I want to be back in the 30s because I don't think he can survive that long. He's reports are coming out of the White House, and man is cracking up. I think it was Wednesday last week, maybe it's Thursday last week. He didn't leave the eastern wing of the White House all day. He laid in bed all day watching TV and tweeting.
He's coming unglued.
Yeah, he's coming unglued, and the pressure is increasing. As they say, the walls are closing in. He's got 6 different investigations going on right now.
Simultaneously.
Right now, 6.
Yeah.
His campaign, his affiliation with the Russians long term in his business, his
inaugural.
His connection with the Russians on a personal level. I mean, there's a long list of things that and they're all converging at the same time to a conclusion, which is detrimental to him. So if he lasts till 2020, sign me up for the 1935 Olympics or whatever it was.
Hey, listen,
even his wife is illegal.
Well, yeah.
Right.
And his kids. His kids, man,
they're involved too. They're investigating them.
Yeah.
So is the whole
the Vice President?
Trump organization, the Trump family, they're all in it.
That's
but the ironic thing, man, you mentioned the word a while ago, the wall closing in. He wants a wall.
Yeah.
But he wants to pay for it.
He has a wall around him, but he can't see it.
Yeah. He wants to pay for the wall, but he said Mexico going to pay for it. Now he's going to take money out of the American budget to build this crazy wall.
Yeah. Well, I think with Trump, with anything, you've got to look at what his motivation is for wanting this wall so badly. And I think it's to line his own pockets.
Oh, yes.
He, after all, ostensibly is a construction guy,
right.
even though we know he's just a brand marketer.
Yeah.
But I think that there's no way that if somehow Mexico or Congress, I'm saying
whoever gonna pay for it, he's gonna benefit.
If Mexican or the man in the moon or Congress or Haile Selassie comes back to life and says here's $5 billion, there's no way that a good portion that's not going to go in his own pocket.
Right.
That's his motivation.
Yeah.
That's his motivation.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it's not nice to talk about the handicap, man.
Yeah.
Well, this man, he can't read, he can't spell.
He's special needs.
Yeah.
Well, he's a career criminal.
Yeah.
He's always from the mid '80s on. he's been a criminal, and he probably could have continued. Manafort would still be running from Oleg Deripaska, trying to save his own life because he's got his money.
Right.
Paul Manafort would still be doing his dirty deals. Carter Page would still be walking around doing his dirty deals.
Right.
Ivanka would still be pretending like she had a brain in her head, and his two sons, Uche and Qusay, they would still be his little sycophants because they can't think. They would still be doing what they've always done, but the fact that he ran for president.
He's been exposed and being scrutinized.
Didn't you understand that the night of the election, when the results came in and it was said Trump won, the wife cried. Then Pence, it is said, he went to hug his wife. She backed him off. She said, "You got what you wanted." So something, the women knew something wasn't right.
Right. Something was wrong.
Well,
they've been living with him, and they heard the conversation.
Well,
then Putin called him. First one to call him.
Yeah. Because he thought he was going, you know, oh, we got Trump now. We're gonna get what we want. You know,
and remind them of where you owe me.
But you know, Chuck just made a quick aside, and I want to expand on this. You said the vice president's involved. Well, as this investigation is going forward, we're finding more and more that the conversations that Mike Flynn had before the FBI stepped to him had him in the same room with Mike Pence. And Mike Pence had to know what he was up to. But the good news is we had 18 days from the time the FBI stepped to Mike Flynn and flipped him and got his full cooperation. And as you notice, Mike Flynn is not going to do a day because he has been cooperating, which means
and it's
not only did he turn over the books and the tapes, this man's been wearing a wire.
Yeah.
And if he's been walking around the White House with a wire on, Mike Pence ought to be very, very afraid. Because this ain't stopping with Agent Orange.
No.
This ain't stopping with Twitler. This is going on through the administration's entire crime family.
My question, though, if when all the dust is settled, they realize, one, Trump did not truly win the election because so many votes were not counted.
Right.
Any one of Michigan or Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, any one of those, had the votes been all counted, he couldn't win.
Exactly
What are they going to do? Are they going to say, well, okay, guys, you're out, and we are going to, like in the Olympics, hey, we catch you, you were doping, you're out, the first one, the next one behind you becomes the champion.
No,
are they going to say, well, okay, Hilly, it's yours?
No.
Or are we going to have new elections? I don't know. I'm just wondering out loud.
The political arena is under scrutiny. I mean, how can you trust a government that let something go on this long or be all the lies be exposed?
Don't forget, man, where I'm coming from, because look, all these things he did, these two justices he got on the Supreme Court, are they legit? Are we going to say, well, he was not legitimately the president, so therefore these things he did couldn't be legitimate? I don't know.
Well, we haven't had a legitimate Republican president since Eisenhower.
No, right.
Nixon cheated with the French, with the Paris Peace talks about Vietnam, which handed him the election in '68. We had Ronnie Reagan come in, and he interfered in the hostages in Iran. Set up a legal deal where he sold them toll missiles, took the proceeds, took that down to Central America, set up the cocaine business with them, and began distribution into the United States. So he was illegitimate. George H.W. Bush couldn't win without race baiting and Willie Hortoning. George W. Bush certainly cheated with Kathleen Harris and that whole debacle in Florida, and he repeated it again in 2004 with Cleveland, and now we've got Agent Orange in 2016. There's a reason why millions and millions more people are Democratic and regard themselves as either moderate or liberal, and a minority regards themselves as conservative. So all the judges, all the Supreme Court justices, all the federal judges, all the laws that have been passed by your standard ought to be obviated. And as far as this last election goes, there is conversation, but it's not around the voting. It's around these illegal contributions from Putin and the Russian interference.
And it's a lot of money.
Is this entire election illegitimate, and should we do this over? Now, I think pragmatically speaking, that's not going to happen.
No.
You know,
no,
but
no.
I do think it's about damn time that we took a look at these election standards that we have around the country, all these disparate machines and rules and regulations, and ability to be manipulated, and the ability of people to go onto a singular network, faux news, and lie with impunity with no repercussions. I think all those things need to be taken a look at, Padgett, so we have legitimate elections, and we have legitimate news sources, and we don't have propaganda and lies, because we've got a lot of gullible, ignorant people in this country.
Well, you know, I agree, but who knows when that would happen, you know?
Well, we have to start someplace.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Journey of 1,000 miles starts at the first step.
Yeah, it you know, and it might, you know, with
Listen,
this,
Ahmad, I think when Mueller's report comes out, that might be the beginning of the end of this whole thing. Because they're going to be so very well exposed that they can't cover their hides anymore.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more.
But I think that the reason that is they contemplating this so heavily is, what is it going to do to America? Will we recover from this? How long will it take for us to recover? That's the big issue.
We will.
We know we got crooks up in there. We know the corruption is up in there. But what type of damage, how deep is it going to go to the American government and the people?
Well, I think it's been going on for a long time. And
Yeah.
what Trump has done is just put a magnifying glass on it. But I think the good news, Chuck, is that if you look at the elections that we just had last month and look at the people who won at the congressional level,
right?
Forget the fact that a lot of them are female, a lot of them are people of color, et cetera, which is wonderful because that looks like America.
That's right.
The bigger point for me is the people who won, the people who did well, were people who ran as unabashed, unapologetic progressives. They said, we're not doing that mealy mouth, well, on one hand, on the other hand, I'm in the middle, both sides have, but no, we need to go back to what we did after World War II and built the world's best middle-class economy, the envy of the world, and that is to have government regulate these corporations, regulate their pollution, regulate their spending, regulate their spending in politics is what I mean.
Right.
Regulate their interference in our daily lives and imposing their will on us as a minority group. Take away this fiction that they're people. Corporations are not people. If they can get polio or cancer, then they're a person. Until then, they're just an organization of crooks in many cases who get together and they conspire against our rights. So I think we're moving in that direction. I think the pendulum is moving in that direction. We just have to keep pushing it.
As long as we don't get these people saying, well, we got to move more to the center, you know, it's like
those people didn't win. Those people who ran that way lost. And if you look at what happened with Gillum and Abrams in Texas and O'Rourke with a legitimate election, they win those too. I mean, but for shenanigans and suppression and the usual stuff they do, they wouldn't have won those states. So they're not legitimate. They don't reflect the views of most Americans.
But they get when they get elected, when they go into office, there's so many, they're outnumbered as far as the corruption in there. A lot of people do things to get elected, but once they get in there, they don't live up to what
the promises. Promises they made
because of the crooks overshadow them.
Hey, Chuck.
Well, but see, especially, let's say the Democratic moderates and all of the Republicans don't run to represent the people who vote for them. That's not what they're there for.
No.
They're there to be water boys and water carriers and water girls for the corporations, and they get their pockets lined. The only evidence you need see is look at a guy who's been making $150,000, $160,000 a year for the last 20 years, and you see him in retirement, and he's got a seaside condo worth $20 million in Florida. He's got a mansion up on the East Coast or maybe on the West Coast, and he's got a portfolio that'd be the envy of Thurston Howell III. So it's corruption. We have unabashed corruption facilitated by the Supreme Court with this fix they came up with, Citizens United, saying that you could spend foreign money come in with no one to account for it and control it. they're just being bought off.
Yeah, and I know it. The lobbyists up there slinging money all over the place.
Yeah. They're the ones who they're the bagmen.
Yeah,
they call them lobbyists,
right.
but they're just bagmen.
Yeah. They
it's corruption.
in the last few years, when all these people, these companies become, they are human. It's like, wait a minute, and
and don't pay taxes.
Right,
won't pay taxes.
No, so it's just, man. But as you were saying, we might be able to move out of that. I was checking last night or night before last, and they were saying they was talking about who's in the lead for presidency, right? Who's going to be?
Yeah.
Did you you check it out?
The candidates, respective candidates.
Yeah, they have Biden. Then the next person.
There's 20 of them. It's 20 Democrats.
Yeah, next person was close to him was. Anyway.
I think Barack was third though.
Yeah,
he was coming in 3.
But it was a big gap between
2 minutes.
Biden and him, but it was some good names up there, But
we've got some promising candidates, but right now, I just want to make sure that Agent Orange is gone. I'm looking down this list right now. His investigations that are coming to a close right now, on the Rustin investigation, on hush money payments to his a couple hundred women. Now that we know what's going on with National Enquirer and their inaugural committee spending, that inaugural fund was a slush fund, $170 million, and all they had was a couple jugglers and a clown. Nobody attended it, but they had $107 million nobody can account for it. You got the family abuse of the charity funds in New York. You've got the foreign payments and the Emolument Clause violation because they're pimping out the White House. And finally, you've got these defamation lawsuits over the sexual assault claims. So Trump's in trouble, and the reason why he's acting so erratic because he knows. He flipped the dice and it came up snake eyes.
Yeah. You were saying, Patrick? You were saying?
Well, you're talking about him lasting the 4 years from the very beginning. I told you all, I don't believe he's going to last 4 years. And more, it's looking like that. I said to somebody the other day, I have a hunch. I believe Trump will look to commit suicide. And they say, oh, no, he's too proud. But it's his pride that's going to lead him to do it, because he will not be able to face the world when the hammer comes down on him.
Oh, he'll go to Russia.
Well, we could go on and on, but that's got to be it for tonight. But there's so much more we could go into, and we won't do it on this show, but we will be doing it. My name is Ahmad Shakaraka, and we catch it around at the next block. Peace.
Don't let anybody make you think that God chose America as his divine messianic force to be a sort of policeman of the whole world. God has a way of standing before the nations with judgment, and it seems that I can hear God saying to America, you are too arrogant. If you don't change your ways, I will rise up and break the backbone of your power, and I'll place it in the hands of a nation that doesn't even know my name. Be still and know that I'm God.